Hello and welcome to Berufsoptimierer, the podcast that helps you optimize your career and achieve your professional goals. In this episode, we will be talking about 4 tips to make your next salary negotiation a success. We will be talking about the preparation, handling rejections, demonstrating value, and some negotiation techniques that have proven to be easy to learn and execute. Let's get started. When I worked as a recruiter, I loved the negotiation part in a job interview, especially with managers or very experienced people. Because no matter how confident the candidate presented himself, when it came to the negotiation, I could see how confident this person really was. And most of the time, the whole confidence faded as soon as I asked the famous question. Today, as a coach, every time I prepare people for a job interview, sooner or later, it comes to the stage where we practice the negotiation. Instead of being nervous or even being afraid of this part, through preparation and practice, my clients negotiate the salary they deserve and they even look forward to it. So how crazy is that? Looking forward to your next salary negotiation. As I work freelance, I also have to negotiate my fees on a daily basis. And I remember so many situations that have gone terribly wrong. And even though I got the assignment, I was not happy with myself. And this low-priced jobs resulted in me having problems paying my bills in the end. So to keep you from making the same mistakes me and hundreds of my clients used to do, I will share my best techniques with you today. The key steps you should take when preparing for any negotiation are: you will need 3 goals. I call them min, good, and love. So for salary negotiation, you will need 3 amounts. Min, this is your minimum amount. Anything below that is a no-go. For example, this could be the salary you have calculated to cover cost of living, or if you are already working, this could be the salary you currently have. But it's important to know that this amount is your secret and is not negotiable. Anything below that would result in you having problems paying your bills or you being demotivated if you still take the job offer. Good. Good, this is the amount you are actually aiming for. If you negotiate this, you can be happy and proud of yourself because you got what you wanted. And love is the figure you will tell your negotiation partner. It is high enough so there's enough room for negotiation, and imagine it lays between good and love. How amazing is that? So, in a nutshell, you could say in every negotiation it is critical to aim for love. As a second step, you have to practice the so-called love amount. The amount has to roll off your tongue, so you have to get used to it. Get used to the love amount, say it as often as possible. 50,000, 50,000, 50,000. And you could even stick little post-it notes in your room with this number, or on the mirror when you prepare yourself in the morning, when you get ready in the morning, you have this number written on your mirror. And then you should practice with a friend and let her or him play the role of the bad cop. But before that, before you ask someone to practice this salary negotiation part, ask yourself, are you worth it? Only if you are able to answer this with a clear yes, you are ready for the second phase. The second phase is to prepare your arguments as to why you are worth the extra money or this specific salary, and then get into the battle. And now, if you cannot convince your bad cop friend about your arguments, you have to try again until your friend is convinced. And this helps you also handling rejections and learning the arguments of the other side. The goal is to find an argument for every objection you get. For example, unfortunately, this is over our budget. Or something like, we have fixed salary bands, and this amount is above the band we have decided for you. As a matter of fact, this is what I like to do with my wife, Caro. Every time I get a new assignment and the fee has not been set yet, I practice with my wife until I'm able to say the fee and to argument why this fee is justified. And through this preparation, you will avoid common mistakes that most people make, such as not having a concrete idea of your salary or becoming nervous when naming your salary expectation, react disappointed or angry when you get a no as an answer, meaning that your negotiation partner rejects the first amount. This is what good negotiation partners usually do, by the way. Or taking the salary negotiation personally. Okay, so now let's look at some negotiation techniques. I will talk about 2 different situations in this episode, and we will jump into the moment of the job interview. And in the next solo episode, I will show you how to negotiate a salary increase in your current job. So if you don't want to miss this second episode, I recommend that you subscribe to this podcast. So let's talk about the job interview. How does the negotiation usually start? Well, at 3/4 of the job interview, the interviewer usually asks you what your salary expectation is. Most people then start moving around on their chair, or they mumble something that is difficult to understand. Or my favorite moment as a recruiter was when someone says that she or he wants to earn this and that, and then starts arguing that of course it depends on the package and it's not only about the money and blah 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 blah. As if to overcome this feeling of insecurity by talking. Did I get you there? Relax. Almost everybody does that. And when I used to name my fee, I also continued talking and talking, so my potential client did not even have a minute to think about it. Nowadays, I say my fee and just stay silent and wait for the other person to react. And based on their reaction, I react. Here's what you do when it comes to the negotiation part. First, you say something like, well, you told me today that you're looking for a so-and-so person that is capable of XYZ. So due to my experience and my recent degree as something, I consider an annual salary of 50,000 gross to be appropriate. Because now it is important that you repeat what you spoke about and why you are the perfect candidate. If you don't know how to do that, by the way, I've recently recorded an episode on how to prepare for your job interview. You can find the direct link in the show notes of this episode. So when you're on the job interview and you said what I said before, you told me that you're looking blah, 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 blah. The moment you said your number, keep quiet. Wait until the other person says something. And I know how it feels. It feels like hours until someone reacts, but usually it's just a couple of seconds. Now, most interviewers will say something like, ooh, that is not what we've expected. And unfortunately, this is over our budget. Is there an amount below that you would be also satisfied with? Or they ask you about your pain threshold. In German, it's called Schmerzgrenze. So what would you do next? Give them an amount below that? Wrong! That is what most people do, but you are not most people, right? If you have given them your salary expectation in your application documents, they have already talked about an amount prior to the interview. And if your expectation was so much over their budget, they would have never invited you. Am I right? So here's what you do instead. Let's go with a budget example. They say to you, oh, unfortunately, this is over our budget. Here's what you say. I can understand that it's important for you that the salaries are within the budget. So what is your budget exactly? It's their turn to name an amount, and then you can decide whether this is appropriate for you. And remember, if it is between your good and your love amount, it should be appropriate. Or even if it's higher than your min amount, you could still agree if you think the job is worth it. And besides, there are things that can also be negotiated. So in this situation, the key is to ask a question and not to give them another number. You already gave them another number. It's their turn now. And then this is where the negotiation starts. And it's not like on a bazaar or something, right? It's you say the first number, they say, oh, this is above our budget. You say, okay, so what's your budget? They give you a number, and then you think about it. And then you can say something like, okay, I need to think about it, but thank you. So if you have reached the limit, there are things you can also negotiate as part of your package. For example, benefits such as a train ticket, travel reimbursement, a company car, or a specific training or certification. Or you can discuss work situation, for instance, remote work or maybe less working hours. Or my all-time favorite is the salary staggering. So you accept their offer. Okay, that's step number one. And then you agree that the salary will be increased to a certain level after 6 months or a year. So how does that sound? Because even if they say, oh, that's not what we can pay, and even if it's just above your min, if you discuss a salary staggering, you can still reach your good. And how amazing is even that? I hope I was able to convince you that negotiations can be fun. And of course, it is crucial that you prepare yourself. As someone once said, negotiations are not logical, they are psychological. So make sure that you take enough time for preparation. Know your value and your personal salary range. Remember, min, good, and love. Justify your salary request with facts, qualifications, experience, skill, and never, ever tell them your min. And last but not least, practice, practice, practice. In 2 weeks from now, we will be talking about how to negotiate a salary increase in your current job. So maybe you want to subscribe to this podcast if you don't want to miss it. And if you want to learn something about how to prepare for a job interview in general, check out my last English episode, episode number 284. You will also find a direct link in the description. What was your biggest takeaway of today's episode? I'm curious to know about it. So send me a feedback to hallo, that's HALLO, at Berufsoptimierer.de or connect with me on LinkedIn. Thank you for joining me today. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Bis bald. See you soon. Yours, Bastian Hughes.